Welcome to Secura Law. I'm Luis Elizalde, founder of Secura Law. I'm here with...
Grace Pesqueira, Operations Coordinator.
And with Eduardo Borgard.
Okay, perfect. This new episode is kind of different. We have a new dynamic, a new way to do the things, or just a new one. We have some friends from Canada asking some questions, but Grace is going to tell us a little more about this.
Yeah, we received a few questions about from some agency that is called Kingsway Sunset Realty. They were wondering about our services, what we do, so they offer us to answer a few questions about them. So,
okay. And I think it's a really good questions that, of course, they are looking more they are looking to help their clients, of course, and the questions are more specific to Canadians. But the reality that questions apply for any foreign that is looking to invest properties here, invest or buy in a property here in Mexico. So we can start?
Yeah, of course.
With who? Eduardo or me?
Let me see. I think
We're ready.
I'm going to start with Eduardo.
Good.
All right.
So, question number 1. What are the pros and cons of fideicomiso versus corporation?
Yes.
Taxes, inheritance, retail, cost?
Okay. Let me just add that is nowadays a very good question. And now I think the answer has changed because a few months ago I would have said there's pros and cons. But now my understanding and my interpretation of how things have changed now is that the corporation is no longer an option. And I'm going to explain to you why. Back in the day, people used to think that doing it with a corporation, that allows them to create like a corporate structure, which is true. However, that comes with a lot of responsibilities. And for the kind of business or transaction that people want to make, wouldn't make that much sense just in a specific situations, right? But for foreigners that just want to buy a property here and invest and have a second home or a vacation home, now that's not even an option because the government has been adding a lot of more responsibilities and problems even to a normal corporation holder that actually makes business. It's next to impossible now for them. The ideal ways will always be the fideicomiso because that gives them so much benefits and it's a low cost or low maintenance cost legal way to obtain property. That's the key point. Because with the corporation, you have to add up that you have to hire an accountant year round. You need to hire lawyers for the HOA or the shareholders meetings. You need to have your books in order. You need to have a worker registered with the labor authorities, and that's not questionable now. Back in the day, you could say, hey, this is not operating. Now they're requesting you somebody there, even if it's not working. So the government is making kind of difficult for these corporate structures to exist just holding property. Because to begin with, it's not the ideal way, but we could make it work. Nowadays, it's a big no, and I would suggest you to run from people that suggest you to open a corporation because at the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. Just to add that if they are looking to buy more than 3-4 properties, makes sense the headache for a corporation.
Under specific situations.
Exactly.
That's the key word there.
Yeah. Okay. What are the ongoing costs of maintaining a fideicomiso or corporation?
That is close to exactly the same thing that Eduardo said. To set up a fideicomiso today is around 2,500, 26. Let's say maybe it's because of the exchange rate. And annual payments of 500 something plus taxes. So it's not more than $600 per year. The fideicomiso. That amount. Nothing else. No headache. Just that amount per year. As Eduardo says about the corporation only to set up a corporation is also around the same, 2600 US. You need to get your tax ID. You need to hire an accountant. Remember, in Mexico, we don't do the annual statement or the annual declaration for the taxes. We do it monthly plus the annual one. So you need an accountant every month. Also, yes, you can be shareholders. You can be owner of your own corporation, 100%. However, if you don't have the permanent resident or the working resident with permit to work, you cannot act in your corporation. What I mean is that you can be shareholders, you can be the owner of the corporation, but you cannot sign documents, you cannot get your tax ID, you cannot do anything related with the corporation, legally speaking. You need to hire an attorney or someone that you trust that could be Mexican or has the same thing, permanent residents or temporary resident with permit to work, that helps you to sign all the legal requirement by law and all the contracts that you are looking for. So we are talking about, I don't know, if you hire an accountant, if you hire an attorney, and the annual meetings plus the setup. Let's say that we're talking around 5. Is that the cheapest? I think 5,000 US or 6,000 per year about the corporation. So I think if you go with the trust, that is no more than $600 instead of 6,000 with the corporation. That's the reason we recommend more than, if you're going to acquire more than 3-4 properties, of course the rent of that property is going to give you the money to pay the corporation. So that's roughly numbers.
So that means that no matter what, you need a legal representative for the corporation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next question. How easy is it to sell the property later on the RIC structure to another foreigner or Mexican?
I didn't understand that. Let me see.
I think they mean that, how easy it is to sell the property, like with all of the procedures
like the
that
process.
we make.
Mm-hmm.
The process is the same for every sale. The difference, it will come in the actual structure of the sale, because it depends if you're selling to a Mexican or to a foreigner or to a company, or if you are assigning the trust, or if you are extinguishing the trust to create a new one, or if you're extinguishing to sell to a Mexican. But the main process, it's very straightforward. You put your property out for sale, you receive an offer, you negotiate the conditions, you accept it, then you sign a promissory contract, and in that promissory contract is where we establish the timeline, the payments, the purchase price, everything that will govern the transaction will be there, and then it's just a matter of filing for all the documents with the different authorities, with the municipality, with the state government, if it's needed, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the bank, or whoever is involved, and then go to the notary public and sign the deed and send it to the public registry. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and with a Mexican, the only thing that changes is the fideicomiso, right?
Yeah, with the Mexican, the only thing that changes is that you have no other institution to go to. It's just between them, municipality, and the notary. That's it.
Yeah.
I want to add a red flags, or one red flag, very important. But I'm pretty sure that
it's subject to another question, maybe?
No, it's directly about
this one.
Yeah, how easy? Because sometimes they say, okay, you buy with the corporation, so you avoid the payment of the tax of the trust. No, it's not about that. If I remember, I tell you later.
Yeah, we can come back.
For
to
sure.
That one. Okay, next question. What documents and permits do I need to buy as a foreigner? We already talked about it a little bit.
The documents for a foreign, if they're gonna acquire through a trust or fideicomiso, that we always recommend, it's easy. Passport, driver license, proof of address, no later or
No older.
no older than 3 months. That's it. Your substitute beneficiary. Normally, we only need the name of your substitute beneficiary, but in order to be sure that the name is spelled right, we will need the passport. Payment to the bank, and that's it.
And the permit of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah.
That's the pivotal document that will be transcribed into your public deed, because that will give you the permission from the government to own that piece of property down in Mexico.
Exactly.
But that has to be filed with all the documents that Luis mentioned.
Something I want to add, I've noticed that some clients believe that they have to have a residency card to buy in Mexico.
No.
So
That's
that
good.
is
That's
not-
good. No,
yeah.
we don't. They can be tourists, no problem at all. The only thing that when they enter to the country, they receive a stamp. In Cancun, it's like that. Only the stamp. You don't receive any other document. But we have to go to the link to get down the
Their migratory form.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. But they can acquire as a tourist. They can acquire a property, so no problem with that.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, who holds the funds during the transaction? Is an escrow service required or recommended?
Well, that's for me. That question depends of the type of transaction, because we have resales and pre-sales. In resales, we 100% recommend that you use an escrow account, because you're securing your funds and you're securing the transaction. With the pre-sales, which are developers and properties brand new, usually it doesn't go with the escrow, because the developer needs the funds to invest in the property, since it's a pre-sale and they have a deadline to get to. However, some developers have accepted escrow accounts with us, but only for down payments and payment schedules, because they need the money when the contract says so that you will pay. So doing it in a resale where you send 100% of the funds and it will stay there until the closing, that's not the case. But for a resale, 100%, pay the extra fee, secure your money.
For sure. Totally agree.
Perfect. Okay. How do I verify that the property has clean title? No liens, ejido land risks, zoning issues.
Okay,
That's like 4 questions in one.
yeah, but it's still kind of easy to respond. Of course, there is a process to do, but the most important is to do the due diligence. After you sign an offer and you see the property and you decide what property or what real estate do you want to buy, you sign an offer. After that offer, our work is to do a due diligence. The proper due diligence is in the public registry. The public registry in Quintana Roo is really good, and it's very important, because if it's not in the public registry, that property doesn't exist. So that means that as soon as you have the offer and we have the document of the property to review that everything is okay, the first step is the public registry. If we see that everything is okay, of course, if there isn't a problem, anything, it's going to be there in the public registry. We can do an extra one, of course, if there is already a trust there, we can reach the bank, the trustee bank, to ask, hey, there is a debt of that, or the trustee fees. And we can go to the municipality to know if the property tax is duly paid or is up to date. But the most important is the public registry. We don't deal with the ejido line. Why? Ejido line is totally different law. It's not private. It's totally different. We don't deal with that, and it's a risk that you have to decide to go. Why? Because at the end, it could be the best business that you make or the worst even. So, and that depends on you, but we don't recommend ejido land. Or if you have money to spend, You can do it. But the most important is the public registry to be sure that the property that you are going to acquire is duly recorded. And that's it.
Okay, great. Do you want to add something?
It's pretty self-explanatory, yes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay. What is the timeline from offer to closing?
Again, there's no defined timeline. Every closing it's different.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about averages and the usual thing, because for a fact I cannot tell you it's this amount of time. Usually we have that from moment of offer to closing used to be like 30 to 45 days. Now with all the changes to our law, to the appraisals, to the government changes for the filing of the pre-closing documents, I would say that 30 days that we started moved now to even 60 days. And I would say that normally it's from 60 to 75 maybe,
90, I will say.
you would say?
Yeah.
It depends a lot of what type of closing we're dealing with. If
Also.
we have an extension of trust with a creation of a new one, it's different. If we have to cancel a mortgage and then setting up a trust or canceling one to set up a new one, that keeps adding people involved, an institution, and obviously that delays the property because we have to go through the process of every institution. So that adds up more and more days. So the usual, let's say 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
And be patient.
Yeah, which
Be-
is not that we can do it earlier. It just depends of the type of closing.
Exactly.
I think the fastest would be 45 days, like in an ideal scenario.
With the perfect scenario,
Like 45, right?
I think we can 30 days.
30, but that's
Yeah.
like the best ideal way.
exactly.
Like you have no
An
issues
assignment of rights.
Yeah.
With the perfect bank.
with the pre-closing documents already
Alre-
filed for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only way, I think.
yeah.
Okay. It's a lot of
Ifs.
bureaucratic.
It's a lot of ifs.
Today, yes.
Okay. When a client sells, what capital gains taxes will apply to me as a Canadian? Can I deduct improvements, commissions, or expenses?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, the capital gain tax directly to a foreign is 35%. That's direct. That's something that you can add up right away. Just to be clear, and you have to be aware that, remember, if you buy in a property that they sell to you 100 US, and then you are trying to sell in 100 US and you say, I'm not gonna pay taxes because there is no gain. Remember, at the end you are in Mexico. Of course, they sell you the property in that amount, but at the end in the title is in pesos. So maybe in that time the exchange rate was different. And then when you are selling the same amount in dollars, but the exchange rate is gonna be different. So you have to be aware of that. And very possible there is gonna be gains. So for that gains, you can calculate 35%. That's the rough number. Of course, you have to make deduction of the pass of the time with the property. And if you have 10 years with the property, we have to update the value of the property to get deduction of that. And also the law accept that through an appraisal, you can make some deduction in the with the improvement that you did with your house or your condo. What is the problem? Not a problem. The new bureaucracy is that nowadays we need to add that improvements in the appraisal, send it to the IRS. They're gonna review it, and if they don't like it, they're not gonna approve that appraisal. So you have to start again. And as Eduardo said, that 60 days could be maybe more, or that 30 days that you were thinking is gonna be 45. Because you have to deal with that. So the rough number is 35% of the gain. And yes, you can do little things, little deductions, and that's it.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, the next question, I believe it was already answered.
Yeah.
How is the tax calculated on the deeded value, or appraised value, or actual sale price?
Well, that it's already been basically explained, but the notary, in order to calculate the taxes, takes different values for different reasons. But the main point is, like Luis said, is the percentage assigned, and they take the purchase value at that time line, and then the selling price, and they try to bring it up to today's price, and that's when they'll calculate the difference. And you can add all those deductions, commissions to come with the final number. But that's after the fact. The rough one, it's with the purchasing price and the selling price, bringing that price up to inflation money, and that's the actual difference.
The equity of the property.
Exactly.
Okay. What's the most tax efficient way to structure the sale as a foreigner?
Okay, in this case, it's like there is not a formula that, hey, I have the magic formula and this is the most efficient way. But for example, if we go back to the beginning, that what we recommend or pros cons getting a trust fideicomiso or a company. In this case, I will set with the trust. Until nowadays or until today, we still have the benefit if you have the residence as a permanent and you have your tax ID, you have your CURP, you have everything, you can apply for the right to exempt taxes. There is a limit, of course. If your property is $1 million value, of course, the exchange rate today of that limit is going to be only 250 US. So no million, 250,000 US. So it's going to help to reduce your taxes, but if you have a trust, but it's not going to be the best. But if you have a property of maybe 100, 200, and you decide to sell, you are going to exempt taxes 100% if you have all the requirements that the law established by the law. So I think that could be the most efficient way to calculate or to do the taxes, or trying to pay the minimum possible, because it's a right that as a permanent resident or as a resident you can apply or you can have. So I think that's the best way to structure a sale as a foreign, and if you have a trust. With the company, that's different. That's the reason you need, or with the corporation, that's the reason you need an accountant. Because the accountant is the one that is gonna do the taxes and declare the taxes every month and every year. And also something that could be good, and it's a pro, that the notary public, when you are selling a property as with the corporation, they're not gonna retain taxes, because you are obligated to do it by yourself. That means with your accountant.
Okay, perfect. This one I'm not sure I understand it. How does a client repatriate the funds safely back to, in this case, Canada?
Safely. It's just a matter of when you're selling your property, you're getting the profit to your account. If you have an account down in Mexico, that's fine. If you have an account in Canada, that's also fine. What we need to take care of is actually your taxes, because you have to pay taxes everywhere in the world. So when you sell here, the obligation to pay the taxes is here. So you'll get issue a receipt from the tax office if you paid or if you skipped your taxes, and that is going to be used in your country of origin to show to your government if you paid or if you didn't. And that is also going to depend if there's no double taxation really between the countries, so you can show that you paid here, and if you have paid anything there, it's for the above amount of what's the percentage here.
Exactly.
So if it's 30% down here but it's 40 there, you can show the 30% here, and then you would only have to pay the excess in your country of origin, as an example, right?
Oh, okay.
That's something happened with clients, but because at the end you are asking us about your taxes. To say the truth, your taxes is in your country. Not to be rude, I'm not trying to be rude, but just adding that we have this with the clients, because the international treaty that we have in Mexico, with US and Canada in specific, for example, with other clients, And specific the example that I did or that I said about the exemption of taxes. They exempt taxes here because the property, the value, and the right that they have all the documents. They exempt 35% of that tax, of that payment of the taxes, and they show that to the accountant that a client have in Canada. I think he is from Vancouver, and the accountant said, okay, yes, but capital gain taxes in Vancouver, I think it was 40 something percent. So they only have to pay the difference when the money arrives to their account. So that's something with your accountant, but it's only the difference, as Eduardo said, and with the experience another client.
Okay. This one is a really good one. I think many people may be wondering. Can a client legally rent out the property short term, Airbnb, Verbo, under a fideicomiso, or do I need a Mexican corporation?
In my turn? Or is your? Yeah? Okay. Okay, this is kind of good, a really good question and kind of tricky, because at the end, you are acquiring, from my point of view, what is the best way to do it? You acquire your property through a trust, through fideicomiso. Okay, that's good, but you are looking to make money of that. Remember, the trust that you are setting up is only for residential purpose, not to rent. You can rent long term, but not for in these cases. In that case, normally we recommend, okay, you are gonna make business through the business, that the way that has to be, through a corporation. So you incorporate, get a Mexican corporation, and then with that corporation, do you rent and get all the permits to do that kind of renting. What is the issue? That sometimes you get an amount in your head saying, hey, I'm gonna rent the property and I'm gonna earn 15,000 US every month. So you say, okay, if you're gonna spend per year on a corporation of 6,000, makes sense. But what happens if not? You know, you already have a corporation, you already have to pay a trust, you already have a corporation with all the permits to make the rents and everything, but the renting is not coming. That's the only issue. That's again the reason we're saying if you have 3 or more properties, it makes sense to a corporation, because if one property is not renting, you have another one, and you can play with that or make best decisions. But with only one and rented an Airbnb, straightforward, you don't have to do it because the trust is residential, but also at the end is your property. If you want to do it with person that you trust, that you know that is not gonna do something against your property, is under your own risk. That's the truth.
Yeah, and to answer it, yes, you can rent it owning with a trust. However, like Luis said, it has a lot of factors you need to factor in. For example, using those platforms, you are requested to have a tax ID.
Good.
So if you don't, the platform is going to calculate the highest rate, and they're going to deduct that from your earnings. So some people say, I would rather get my residency and get a tax ID to put it in so I can keep all the money. But that, again, gives you more responsibility, because now you have to hire a personal accountant so they can calculate those taxes, and you're going to end up paying taxes anyway. So my suggestion, and I've had this situation with a client, is don't bother. You're going to get taxed anyway. If you don't want to become a resident for all the other benefits, I wouldn't do it for this one. The main benefit to become a resident is actually your selling point, because you can skip the capital gains. If you're not going to do it for that, then just bypass all the problems with the tax office, and then just have the platform calculate with the highest rate, and then you will get your earnings back.
You know something funny that you said, the skip, this is totally apart, but we used to have, remember we did a document, a written, like now we have videos, we have podcasts, but before we used to do a lot of weekly notice, weekly news, something like that. And we have skip capital, we made one saying skip capital gain taxes, and we have no problems but we have a lot of, hey, the brokers and everything. Hey, with them you can skip taxes. And no, we are not saying that you can skip taxes. We are saying that it's a right that you can have if you get all the requirements. Just to be clear on that.
Of course.
But it was good, you know.
Yeah.
He was thinking that you were avoiding the law.
Exactly.
Okay. What licenses, permits, or tourism taxes do I need to collect from renters?
From renters.
Yeah.
Normally, there is a tourism tax that you have to pay before you go back to your country, but that's directly in the airport. I remember that I saw that on the airport when you arrive. I saw a lot of TVs or advertisements that says, "Hey, remember that you have to pay your taxes in this link," something like that. And I remember it's like 500 pesos, 700 pesos, something like that, when you arrive to Mexico. Renters.
There's a municipal tax
Exactly.
per night.
Also that.
That applies also for the Airbnb.
But the Airbnb retain it, right?
No.
No?
That is something that you have to go directly to the municipal, and you have to declare how many nights you rented, and then you pay it. It's like 45 pesos per night.
But still.
But still, yeah.
Good one.
Now I saw in in a municipality meeting like 2 weeks ago that they're changing it before the end of the year. They're changing it for a night per person.
Night per person. So it's gonna be maybe 45 or could be more
Yeah.
per person and per night.
Yeah, so you need to add that up into your expenses because you, as the owner, you have that responsibility to declare that to the municipal government.
But
so
you know-
you need to collect it from your renters.
You know what? That's very normal everywhere.
Yeah.
All around the world. Any tourist area, any tourist place, any hotel. The only thing, the huge difference is if you know.
Yeah, it's for the saneamiento ambiental reasons. That's like the government wants
Really?
to. Yeah, the government wants to collect money for every person being here because all the impact to the environment that
For sure.
we make
No,
as
yeah.
people.
Of
I mean,
course.
we all know what I'm talking about, but they are changing it from night of stay to person per night. So if you have a party of 5 people coming in, you need to charge them for every single person. For
And it's
every
gonna
night
help
they
the
stay.
environment for
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely. But that's what you have to take into consideration there.
So
Yeah.
you're not paying taxes. You're helping our environment.
I mean, the sargazo is like correlated to the
Yeah.
environment. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also all the human disposes and all that.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly,
That's
exactly.
why they want to charge it per person because it's not the
It
same.
makes sense.
Yeah.
At the end, makes sense. Now we're gonna enter to other. Continue with the question. Let's continue with the questions.
Okay, I think this one was also answered. Do I need an RFC or Mexican tax ID to rent and pay taxes on income?
Yes.
Yes and no. If you are using a platform, you're not mandated to get it because again the platform will retain it for you. But if you're renting long term and your renter asks for a factura, then you are obligated to do so. So depending on the situation, that's what you need to do.
Okay. What are the typical income tax rates and IVA or VAT obligations for foreigners on rental income?
Again, it's the same. Go directly as a foreign, 35%, and the VAT, IVA, is what is value add tax?
Value
is
added tax.
16%. So we are talking about 10, 30, 45, around 51%. If you pay all the taxes, it's around 51% of your earnings. Sounds a lot. That's the reason you need to hire an accountant. Maybe it's a good idea to have tax ID, but still, if you are looking, again, if you are doing business, all the business has these details, so you have to work around that.
Yeah, but just be sure or understand that the value-added tax is not a tax that you pay. It's a tax that the renters pay, and you are receiving it and entering that to the government. So it's not coming out of your pocket. In your expenses, you need to put it as an item for your renters to pay to you, and you pay to the government.
But still, it feels that you're paying it, because at the end in your account you say, hey, I have $100, $116, and then 16 is already that I have to pay because it's a tax. How can we say it in
It's
English?
a tax that you
Transferable.
charge, but you also have to pay on behalf of your renter.
Yeah, exactly. But
That's
at
your
the end, you
obligation.
are looking at it in your
Yeah.
account, so you think that they are taking that money.
That
Yeah.
money is already yours, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like that.
But it was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best way? I think you already answered this one. What is the best way to structure rental operations to stay compliant but also minimize tax?
Yeah, that's the one that I just talked about.
Yeah.
If you are doing vacation rentals and using platforms, don't sweat it. Don't get a tax ID. Just have the platform do its job. But if you are not, and you're using or you're renting on your own, or you're doing long-term rentals, I would suggest you to get that, because at some point you are going to get required a factura, and if you cannot issue it, that's gonna hurt your chances of renting your unit. So get it done.
Exactly.
Okay. Can a client hire a property manager to handle compliance, guests, and taxes?
Yes, and that's also very normal. Normally, for example, you have to look for a property management that they already have a company, and that company has all the license to do this kind of work, and this is normal. The company that has more time here in Quintana Roo, Cancun, Tulum, Playa, they update with the municipality all the property that they have in rent, and they are making all the payment of the taxes and everything. And when they have all the incomes, they send that incomes to you, of course, after taxes. And it's a less headache for you, but also because you are hiring someone to do all this administration and all the payment of taxes, your earning is gonna be less, but you're not gonna have a headache. And look for that a company that already has all the license, they have all the permit from the municipality to do it, because there is a lot of, I will say, independence that is also good. Everybody has the right to work, but sometimes they are not with all the
They're not that structured.
exactly.
Okay.
That's the best way to say it.
Okay. What are the annual property taxes, such as predial, and how are they paid or assessed?
And the property tax calculated in two ways, are too many, but the most important that you may know or that you may need is if you have a real estate, already the construction and everything, or a condo, the property tax today is 0.0019%. That is gonna change. That's gonna change in couple
Next year.
Next year, but until now it's 0.0019 of the purchase price. If your property is really old and you have your property more than 12, 13 years, you will see that your property tax is calculated in the cadastral value, that the lowest value possible, approved by the municipality, or is the one that the municipality established. And the land is a little different. If you bought a land, the percentage of the amount that you are looking for is the purchase price times 0.0024 or 25%. I don't remember exactly, but that's the way that you calculate it. And it's the same. If you just bought it, it's gonna be the purchase price. If it's already really old property, maybe it's with the cadastral value. And that's it.
Okay. And what about the property acquisition tax?
It's over there or it's different?
No, I mean,
It's your
I'm
question,
asking.
okay.
Yeah.
No, the acquisition tax is related when you buy a property and it's retained by the notary public, and there has a different percentage. In Cancun, it's 3%. plus another tax that is 10% of that 3%. So we are talking about 3.3%. Is Cancun and Puerto Morelos.
Puerto Morelos.
Cozumel is still 3%.
Yeah.
Okay. Cozumel 3%, Playa del Carmen 3%, Tulum is 4% since last year, and Bacalar I think is still in 2%, or they already
I
changed
think
it?
it's 2.5.
2.5, and
Chetumal
Chetumal
as
is
well.
2.5 also. Okay, so in the purchase price, that's not like I have a cadastral value, I have the appraisal. Okay. If the appraisal is higher than the purchase price, you are gonna pay that tax, that 3.3, 3 or 2, or depending on the municipality, the acquisition tax on the
Higher value.
higher value. Perfect.
Okay. And important to note that it's only paid once
Yes.
when you purchase the property.
As it's already in the closing cost that normally you receive from the beginning, so you know exactly how much you're gonna pay at the end.
Okay, perfect. Are there any local condo fees, HOA dues, or municipal fees I should know about? Sorry.
Well, that depending on the HOA, but for local or municipal, the one that we talk about regarding renting out. Aside from that, you are only requested to pay your property tax every year and your HOA every month or every year or every 6 months, however the specific condo manages it.
Exactly.
And your trustee fee every year also. Those are the only expenses.
Okay. And last question. What are the typical utility costs? Electricity, water, internet? And are there restrictions for foreigners?
No, there is no restrictions to foreign. Something that has to be very important. The services or the utilities go directly to the house. Like, for example, something that we already that happen all the time is that when we have the closing, the client say, "Hey, but I need my utilities and my name," and they are really worried that they gonna receive a cancellation of the services of the electricity, water. That doesn't happen. That will go directly to the house, and after you have your title duly recorded, we can do the change of at the name or at your name. The cost, water, to say the truth, is kind of cheap. That depends how much water do you use, but still it's kind of cheap. Electricity, from my point of view, is something expensive. And also that depends how many air conditioners do you have, how many electricity you use, but still it's kind of expensive. Plus, or you can add, I think the value or the fee of the electricity closest to the beach is a little higher. And one other? Internet. No, internet is cheap. Internet is also kind of cheap. It's not the best, but it's good. It's cheap. What else we're thinking about? Internet, water, electricity, gas, maybe. If you don't have an electric oven, gas oven is very normal here, and also it's kind of cheap. Not that expensive, not cheap that used to be, but it's not that.
No,
you have
for
gas
example, yes,
electric
both,
oven.
both. But
Electric
for
oven?
for my oven, it's gas, and the boiler is electric. But for gas, I would say I pay around 900 pesos every 6 months.
Exactly, something like that. That cheap.
It's very
Yeah,
cheap
it's very
$45 every $90, $100 per year.
per year. Yeah,
It is cheap.
It's very cheap.
Yeah, electricity is the most expensive, I think, and
Yeah.
because of the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no restrictions for foreigners.
No. If they buy a house, they have to pay it, and that's it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be correct to restrict them from having electricity.
Yeah, exactly. Or until now, no.
Not that we know of.
We'll see about that later. Okay, so that's all the questions.
Amazing. 20 questions, 20 response, 20 answers, and really good answers.
Yeah.
That is gonna help you. I hope that you like the video. Something else that you want to add?
Nothing much. For me, it's fine.
I think it was very, very complete, all the information. And I mean, any of the audience have any more questions, they can leave it in the comments so
Good.
we can answer them.
Awesome. And thank you, Joe, again for all the questions and for reach us. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.